beauties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash that subscribe button, turn your notification so you are notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I am saying a very big shout out to every one of you for the love, the support you all shower me here with. I am grateful, and you all are super sweet. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's a video that is circulating online about this same girl that has been saying so many horrible things about black, and she is anti-black. I mean, she is, it's obvious, we all know that. And she actually came back to say, okay, that they thought African Americans AAVE and also taught them English. And a lot of people were not even having it because, like, how did you all teach black people AAVE and all that? I mean, these were the vernaculars they already had before they came over, before you all tried to strip them of everything about themselves. That is how horrible it was. You all, like, you know, I do not like talking about this because it's taking me back to how the whole slavery thing started and how they stripped them away of everything, including their names. And she has the guts to come here to say that we taught you all English. You think where they are coming from, they were not speaking something, or you taught them AAVE. They already had vernacular. They already had something going on for them. So they also had a language. I mean, this mentality, I mean, every Tutu market day, she comes out to say some nasty things. And why was she? She actually went back to put the video on private because she know how fucked up, like how messed up she is and how messed up the video is and how unintelligent she is. This woman I'm talking about is dating a black man who is also anti-black. And I am so scared for the child they are raising because I don't know what is going to happen to that child. I am going to roll this clip. We'll come back to talk about it. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. So shut up.
AAVE was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
So AAVE started out as a form of English Creole, a Creole language, a combination of African indigenous languages and very, very broken British English. I say British English because the first 20 African slaves that were brought to the USA were brought here to Virginia, where I'm from, born and raised. I also lived in Louisiana for a bit, but that's a different story. You know, they were brought here to Virginia. Their enslavers did not have Southern accents. Their enslavers had British accents, most specifically Queen Elizabeth and King James I era British accents. The modern day Southern accent didn't really form until 3 to 4 generations later. So at least we didn't have the Southern accent until at least like mid to late 1700s. And by that point in time, the Creole language was already in full swing because the slaves were still switching back and forth between broken English and their indigenous African languages. Mind you, again, slaves were still being imported from Africa at this point, you know, so that's the way they communicated with each other, was that Creole language. Now, after a certain point in time, the enslavers wanted to be able to understand their slaves and be able to catch on to them if they were plotting to escape or if they were plotting a revolt. So they made their slaves speak proper English. I say proper English in quotation marks because the slaves weren't allowed to learn how to read. So it was never proper English. So the Creolized language got watered down into a dialect form of English that we know today. All right? So they didn't teach the slaves anything. They forced them to speak a certain way. So it's not a flex if a white person speaks AAVE and they're like, yeah, no, this came from white people. Like, no, this came from enslavers forcing the slaves to forget their indigenous language. So you preaching that came from white people, white Southern people, you're bragging about how enslavers forced and beat a language into people and didn't allow them to speak their native tongue. People that they forced to be here in the US. So this really isn't the flex that you think it is. The closest modern day equivalent we have to the Creole language that those slaves spoke is Gullah Geechee Creole. And if I walked up to you right now and started speaking Gullah Geechee, you wouldn't understand a word. You wouldn't understand a word. If I walk up to you and started speaking Louisiana Creole, because mind you, the enslavers in Louisiana spoke French and some Spanish, you still wouldn't understand a word. You wouldn't understand. If I went up to an old white Southern lady right now, start speaking Gullah Geechee to her, she wouldn't understand a word. So please tell me, if it's derived from white people, why can't y'all understand? If the root of AAVE is in a white person's language, why can y'all not understand it? Because it's not rooted in your language. You would know that if you actually spoke it.
AAVE was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slip? And who gave you a motherfucking platform? Why do you still have a platform? I'm trying to understand that. How do you still have one after all the damage that you done on this app? Like, I'm trying to understand. Like, okay, I get it. Most of it could be your livelihood, whatever. But seriously, where's your citations in this? Where are your peer-reviewed journals and your empirical journals to tell you exactly what you're spewing out to be correct? Because I definitely want to see that. As someone that is well-educated and I understand research, because I just don't sit up on Google and just search research. That's not research. You need actual researchers that has a DR in front of their main doctor to provide you this information. Because I definitely want to see this research that you're spewing. This shit that you're saying. This Pe0ple shit. This is a genuine question. What do you do for a living? I'm curious because I can't imagine my life being on social media all damn day antagonizing someone. And I never quite understand that. And I get this is new forms of making income, okay? But when you get older, and you get too tired to want to keep this shit up, what is your fallback on? What is your fallback? Like, I genuinely want to understand, specifically, not just for you partaking, I'm saying generally, why is it so hard for your society of people to leave my society of people alone? Why is it so hard for y'all not to just go mind your business? I mean, maybe I can't quite grasp the fact because maybe I'm an actual human and I actually have a fucking heart. And I learned my place in society. Some things I love to be unsaid, especially if you can't back it up with facts. Okay? You've been up and down this news feed for the past 2-3 months with your bullshit. Don't you get tired of people trolling you or you trolling people and you get backlash for it? Like, I'm trying to understand your concept in this. Are you hurt? Did someone hurt you? I genuinely want to know. Did someone hurt you to the point where you feel like you had to be the antagonizer for a specific community? Because if that's the case, then we need to have a conversation. It's not that hard to have that conversation. And I'm all for educating those that might not understand or maybe lack thereof to understand. And I'm okay with having this conversation with you. But generally, I want to know, did someone hurt you to the point where you have to antagonize black people? What did they do to you? And I'm going to specifically say, and I'm going to take this away, I'm not talking about what you did a couple months ago. I'm talking about before then. What triggered your brain to think this is okay to have this conversation and to antagonize people? Who hurt you? Who have not sat down with you and had this conversation with you to make you feel like you need to be this distasteful person? Because I guarantee you, underneath that skin of yours, and deep down, that's not who you are. But I genuinely want to know, what is your big deal? What's going on? But I'm so serious. And I've never been the one to actually want to sit here and understand people that are blatantly implicit and explicit. I don't really care for those people. But I genuinely want to understand because you're so young, and I'm just trying to grasp everything and trying to get why. even with you having children that are from African descent. Why are you talking like this? Do you not understand the consequences as they get older and you get, you grown in age too? Everything you put on the internet, it sticks with you forever. So when your kids, your sons, grow up and they see these videos, how do you think they're going to feel as they become grown men? Have you thought about that? Like, it almost seems like it's only for your personal gain. And you're not even looking at the consequences behind it. I'm serious. I genuinely want to know. And I'm serious about the peer-reviewed journals too. I need you to show me your research in regards to what you just said on this video. But seriously, I'm not a big content creator. Not. But I'm genuinely concerned. What is the deal? Why can't you just have this thing of creating other content that does not cause any mayhem? And do you understand that everything you post can cause some serious detrimental trauma to your children, especially if they're mixed? Speaking from another mixed biracial person. I don't know. Scarlett, I don't know your name, but seriously, cut the shit. Who's ever telling you this is okay? You're being misguided, and you're putting yourself in a situation you're never going to be able to get yourself out of. Because like I said, as you get older, shit does not go away. Because once it's there, it's there. There's no way of removing it, deleting it, or a cease and desist, none of that. It's gonna always be there. As technology continues to advance, the more videos and pictures that are out there in the cloud, it stays there and it sticks, and it does have some type of consequences behind it. And you severely need to think about that. Because you're not hurting those that you are antagonizing, but you are hurting the sons that you are raising. Just saying.
Derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
Taught. She said taught. Becky White Privilege said, who do you think taught the Africans English when they were brought over here? As if they took a cruise and just came over here. It's going to take a little bit more than imagination. We're going to have to engineer something and put that thing together. So, imagineer this. Hello and welcome to your session. It's me, Miss Durbin. And let's go ahead and get started with our special words that we've been working. Toby, I need you to have a seat. Okay, it's time to, I will not call you Kunta. Master said your name was Toby, so I will be calling you Toby. No, tell me what your name is. No, it is, I will be having a conversation with Master. You're gonna get a beating. You're gonna get a beating. Okay, guys, okay, let's settle down. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Okay, so what are our special words that we've been working on? If you guys can get this, I have a surprise for you. There will be extra gristle and skin in your dinner tonight. Isn't that exciting? Okay, Bessie, what's the first word? Cotton, very good. The word is cotton. Someone wants some gristle and skin. Very good, Bessie. Skin and gristle for you. Okay, who can come up with the other word? Go ahead. Ezekiel? Okay, what's the word? Tobacco. Oh my God, that was so good. Extra skin and gristle for you too. You guys are doing such an excellent job. Imagine that. All that big old pumpkin jack-o'-lantern head you have. And not one single brain cell. It takes 0.3 seconds. and the regular cost of your internet provider. To find out on Google that slaves weren't taught English at all. They pieced together words to put together their own version of English that had nothing to do with white people, other than them being in their environment. I am astounded, astonished, befuddled, and flabbergasted how somebody who has access to so much information at their fingertips would sit there and say in 2023 with their whole chest that a slave owner who considers their slaves less than human would take the time to teach their slaves, their property, their animals, English. Make it make sense. As a proprietor of the English language, I am proud to say that it is my job and my duty and my pleasure to teach English Monday through Friday to young people in my classroom as an English teacher. But let me tell you something. I ain't got no problem talking just like this when I am not standing up teaching English as the standard language that it is. Furthermore, I sleep every night in my big ass house with my 20-foot vaulted ceilings in my bedroom, knowing that white people had nothing to do with the creation of one single word of AAVE. I hope them box braids take your hair out. Now get somewhere and sit down and go with God crispy. There's some AAVE.
AAVE was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
White Southern plantation owners didn't teach enslaved Africans English. They forced them to learn it so that their slaves could understand their instructions. And black enslaved people invented many codes to communicate with one another. Songs, they would use songs to communicate vital information across plantations, designs in their hair, and eventually what we call today AAVE. And it was brilliant, right? Because the dialect was coded for their protection, but to the ears of the white people around them, it sounded like they were just stupid and making their best attempt at English. But they were communicating information that they didn't want their slave owners or the white people around them to know with one another. Something that can still be seen today because black people use AAVE and white people still have no idea what they're talking about. You've proven that in your cartoonish attempts at rap music. And the fact that you would take something that was designed and coded by enslaved black people and try to credit that to their enslavers because you think that makes it more okay for you to use it, expresses in itself how you feel about black Americans. We can scroll down your page and go to the point before your marketer told you to be controversial for social media followers and you chose racism, and see that you were just another cookie cutter white girl that everybody scrolled past, no matter what you did. That's your problem. That's why you don't like black people, because they have an identity and you don't, and you're trying to steal theirs.
African slaves English when they were brought to Southern America. Don't be mad at me, that's just the fact.
Cite your sources. Cite your sources. I would like to see the empirical proof data that you have to back up this claim that you just made. Because there is no way that you sat here with your Lisa Kudrow looking ass and got on this internet and said that with a straight face, like you just knew for sure. So please, the burden of proof is on you now. Cite your sources. I want to see peer-reviewed articles. I want to see books that you've read. I want to see anything that you have to actually back up this claim, because there is no way that you actually believe what you're saying. This is rage farming at its finest. Cite your sources, Starla. Colloquially speaking, black people came up with AAVE, but I want you to provide the sources that would disprove what everybody else is saying. So you have 24 hours to respond. Cite your sources.
You can't gatekeep something that's not yours.
I'm old, so I'm going to say Ebonics from here on out. And even though I think the concept of only black people can speak Ebonics is dumb, so is anybody that agrees with you. Yes, white people taught the slaves English, but they did not teach us Ebonics. And they couldn't because they weren't around us. We were freed and then they're like, go that way. And while we were this way, we couldn't go that way because that way was the American experience. So we had to create our own culture over here. Like, really imagine a white Southerner talking like a black person. Yeah, boy, sometimes you gotta be about that life 24/7 up on that ground and make that paper, you feel me?
AAVE was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
It's really sad that you make money off of gaslighting black women on this fucking app. Meanwhile, you don't make enough money to keep yourself safe 24/7. And one of these days, your gaslighting is gonna, yeah, that's about as much as I can say. But, you know what white people learned how to do from black people? Wash their ass.
AAVE was derived from white Southern language.
2 seconds of research. Why, yes, the roots of AAVE were established during the first century of British colonization of America. The conditions were favorable for blacks to acquire relatively close approximations, meaning they didn't use British English, they developed their own. In the same article, blacks were exposed to a variety of English dialects and shaped by influence from African language and possibly also from Creole varieties. Now I'm going to say this slow. Whites didn't develop AAVE. African Americans developed AAVE, and AAVE evolved against background of continuing language contact, meaning they had to evolve their own dialect. Shh. Shh.
Language. Who do you think taught the African slaves English when they were brought to Southern America?
Southern America? You mean like Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Peru, Ecuador, Chile, Colombia? That's Southern America? Riddle me this, Batman. How did the people teach slaves to speak a language that they themselves hadn't mastered yet? Imagine telling a black person that AAVE was taught to black slaves by white slave owners.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop fucking lying.
It was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
When I asked if people could get any dumber, it was a rhetorical question, okay? Do you know what rhetorical... You don't know? Okay. It wasn't a challenge. God, I could roast you so easily for this. It's such low-hanging fruit. The temptation is almost irresistible. And I bet that your big head would make a really fun dong sound when it hit you. But quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that the fumes that would be created by roasting that level of absolute garbage coming out of your mouth would be so noxious that they'd give me cancer and probably result in a fine. And I also don't have the time, patience, energy, or crayons to explain my insults to you, and they would just go right over your head. So this is what we're going to do instead. I'm going to say this as nicely as I possibly can today and use small words that you can understand. AAVE stands for African American Vernacular English, and you could have found that out with Google. That's free for future reference. So yeah, contextually speaking, in history, white people were there, they were around, they had something to do with it. Yeah, they were enslaving African American people on plantations in the South, and then taught them the language against their will, committing crimes against humanity. Imagine using slavery as like the basis of your supporting argument. Gross. But moving on from your weird little slavery fantasy, just because they were there and they taught them the basic English does not mean that they get credit for what was done with it by that group afterwards. Okay, let me put it to you this way. This would be like if Beyonce, you know Beyonce, Queen Bee, yeah. If she gave her credit for her entire successful career to her high school chorus teacher. Literally anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together has recognized that they have given credit to African American people for AAVE. That's why it's in the name. Sorry. So maybe the next time that you think about, I don't know, going after something that's literally named after the group you're claiming doesn't have a claim to it, maybe just shut the fuck up instead. Because while it is so entertaining to watch you make an absolute ass of yourself in front of God and everybody, you're literally eroding my faith in humanity. So if you could kindly stop doing that, that would be great. Thank you.
AAVE was derived from white Southern language. Who do you think taught the African slaves?
I don't know the history of AAVE. but I know that you're wrong. Like, your first reason is, well, who do you think taught them English? They weren't taught English. Slaves were not taught English because that meant that they could actually understand what was going on around them. And they couldn't have that because they just needed them to work like farm animals. So they taught themselves English. And I would imagine that from their personal cultural accents, it would mix in and create, a new dialect of English. The same that there's like the British English, the American English, Hispanics have their own kind of way of talking. But
who do you think taught the African slaves?
So this, excuse me, this is all I got from the stitches, and I really do not like this video. I don't like it. Why? Because it's reminding me of how they stripped off, people that look like me there, how they stripped off their language from them, how they stripped off their names, how they stripped off everything from them. You all already know that they already had a language before coming over to America, and most of them speak in vernacular, which still, to this very moment, we have that vernacular in Nigeria and other countries. Ghana, like Kenya, Uganda, you see them broken English. See them talk in vernacular and all that. So it is not a new thing. They did not teach them anything to start with. And it is just unfortunate that, some people just go to school for going sick. They really do not know anything. Or she just want to throw herself and her husband, because her husband is African American. The husband also, are they even married? They are not even married. The man she is with is also anti-black. I can show you the man's channel, but there is no need for that. He is anti-black. He does the same thing Jeff Mead is doing. So where did she learn all this? I am sure she also learned from the man she is with. So when the man is of no good to his own community, the person he is also dating is also of no good to African American community. So they wake up every day to cause commotion and confusion among themselves, not even among my people. But I am really scared for the child they are going to raise. One thing about internet is that internet doesn't forget. Sometimes you think you are free, but then you are not free. That was why the same man that showed up in school, that came back to say that black people are this, black people are racist to him, and then they pulled up his how many years since. So sometimes people don't know the harm they are causing themselves, not until maybe very much later. But I know she is causing a lot of harm to herself. And why was she even scared? She's scared and she went to the video is unavailable. You cannot find that video because she knew that she messed up. She effed up. That she doesn't know anything. Sometimes they're unintelligent, like how dumb they are just manifest. Because this is one of the videos. This is one of the reasons. That's why I say I do not like this video, because it reminds me how they came over to Africa and took away people and want to force them to understand their own language. They didn't teach them any AAVE. This is something they already have for themselves. You can imagine coming over to somewhere, people with different names and all that, and then they strip you of every damn thing. Everything, including your name, whatever you are, and then try to punish you when you try to even speak your own AAVE, because they want you to speak like they do for easy communication for them, not even for you, for them. And then somebody's gonna sit back somewhere and tell me that slavery benefited slaves. In what way exactly are we talking about? In what way? If she didn't fuck up, why did she put that video on private? Why did she private it? She knew how messed up she and her, the man she is with, they are effing messed up. This is where I am going to draw the curtain. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.